Jessica Jones Season 2 is finally on Netflix. I just finished watching it and I wanted to collect my thoughts on it a little bit before I film this review. And yes, I am wearing a bit of a jacket while reviewing this for only one reason. The lining is purple. Get it? Because you get it. At the end of Season 1, Jessica had killed Kilgrave, and now we were at a situation where Jessica seemed to be making a step towards a direction where she was ready to go back to a life of normalcy again. However, the things that Kilgrave did to her and all the things that have happened to her in her life leading up to this moment haven't exactly been the greatest, so when you have to get rid of something that happened in your life, you have to face a lot of other internal demons that were released. And so Jessica in this season is dealing with a lot of things that are relating to her past, questions that she has not been able to answer. And in the form of a new case, some of those questions are now coming back, and some answers are going to be revealed along the way regarding how she was made, who she is in this world, and whether or not she deserves the powers that she has. It's a very deep season that way. I love Season 1. Season 1 was such an amazing thing, and Kristen Ritter in that was award-worthy. She just gave such an amazing performance, and so obviously I was excited for Season 2 because I wanted to see what she would bring to the table. I would have to say that Season 2 is an amazing season, and I will. I think it's a fantastic season. That said, I do think it's a slight hair below Season 1. I think Season 1 has a couple of things better than Season 2 does, but Season 2 is such a strong season. And to me, this kind of felt like the best way to compare it would be if I was watching Guardians 2 compared to the first Guardians. Guardians 1 was a ton of fun, and people going into Volume 2 were expecting a lot more action, a lot more amazing set pieces with great visual effects. And you get that, but it was more about the characters. It was more about building them up and making them deeper and richer. Season 2 does a lot of that because Season 2 is a very slow season. There's a lot of things that don't really happen in the first half of the season. It's a very slow build. And in this time, the creators take the opportunity to address certain things about Jessica's character that make her deeper. But they also decide to do this for all the other characters that we've known so far. In the case of Jessica, she has two people who she relies on the most, her neighbor Malcolm and her friend Trish, who is more like a sister to her after she was adopted by the Walker family. Trish in this season gets a lot more attention because there's a huge subplot involving her and how she's changed in the events after Season 1. And because this show is taking place after the Defenders, there's constant references to that too regarding how that has impacted her job. In the case of Malcolm, he was a drug user in Season 1, trying to recover from the habits that he had gained because of Kilgrave's mind control works, and so now he's on his way to becoming a better person, working with Jessica at Alias Investigations. And there's a lot more depth given to his character in this season as well. I actually like the fact that these two were in the season a lot more than Season 1. I really like these two characters, and I'm glad I got to see a lot more of them. But that is where the strength of the season lies. I love the fact that they decided to go this deeper route. Let's talk about Kristen Ritter in this season because, like I said already, she gave an amazing performance in Season 1, which was award-worthy. She actually kind of tops that here. She is phenomenal in this season. I can't compare any other actress who could do this role. She is so good at this. I think the best thing that she does is you care. Because Jessica is not the greatest person in the world. I think the Season 1 really emphasized that without the shadow of a doubt. She's kind of a terrible person at points. She's kind of like a lovable piece of trash. But that's a really insulting thing to say. And you already sympathize with her in Season 1 because Kilgrave did stuff to her which was awful. There were terrible things that happened, and so in this one, when she's dealing with these different things that are coming up about her life, you get to know her even more and you understand why she's made certain decisions that she's made along the way. There's actually a really cool way of doing that over here, which I'm not going to spoil, but they handle her character in fantastic ways in this season. Now, no spoilers, but there is another character in this particular show played by Janet McTeer. She is a character very closely connected to Jessica's past. She is one of the main reasons why this show gets the emotional depth it deserves because there's a lot of connections established between her character and Jessica's character because she holds some answers to the way Jessica is and how she was made, and so watching this season and watching their connection unfold was actually quite something. I think that was one of the strongest points of the entire season. There's actually one very landmark thing about this entire season, and it's that it's actually directed by 13 different women. This is an all women's produced and directed show, and I believe written also. I might be wrong about that. But I think that's amazing, because for a viewpoint like this, for a character like this, it's important that it be from a woman's perspective. Because Jessica's been through some terrible stuff, including sexual harassment, rape. She's had a horrible life. She's had a different kind of hell compared to some of the other characters that we've seen in the Marvel Netflix line. And so a certain perspective is needed, a certain perspective, a certain mentality. And I think that this season nailed that perfectly. And I think that the 13 women directors who were in charge of this season have delivered amazing stuff. This is such a well-directed season, all of it. And it builds, like I said, slowly, but it's a good build. It never feels like it's a silly or useless kind of build. It's always building to something, and it manages your expectations for a while. Towards the second half of the season, just as the first half is coming to an end, there is a huge thing that happens. And from that point on, I was riveted. From that point on, the season just became better and better with each episode, and by the end of it, I was amazed by how they were able to take the characters from point A to point Z by the end in such a crazy and such a fascinating way. I absolutely loved it. It's a very relevant show to come out at this point in time, because we keep talking about representation of stronger women in media, stronger women in society. This show deals with that, but also deals with other things. It also deals with the idea of addiction, because we learned about how Trish in the past was a huge drug user because of the fame. She couldn't quite take it in the best way, and so she was overreacting and she had to go into rehab. This is something we know from season 1. Season 2 explores that a little bit more about what her life was like, and how that could always relapse. And I think that's a very interesting thing. Like I said, I can't go too much into the plot of the season, even though I'd really like to. I think there's a lot to love here, and I think if you've not seen any of the trailers, it's for the best. Also, there is a certain thing that happens in the last few episodes. There's one thing that happens, and I did not expect that at all. That was awesome. So check out that when you get to that point. Frankly, one of the best things about Jessica Jones Season 2 is it decides to do something that a lot of superheroes in movies or TV shows say, but don't always deliver on it. When you watch anything, there is always this moment where the hero says, like, these powers are a curse, and I wish I didn't have these powers, and I wish no one else had these powers, and I wish that, if those powers did not exist, what would happen? But then at the end, they would use that power to do something great. Jessica Jones Season 2 actually makes the case that you don't want these powers. Jessica can jump really high, barge open doors, or break whatever hell pretty simply, and she can lift cars and stuff, but do you really want her life? And the show asks you that question, and it raises certain things, which I liked. I like the fact that the show asked questions like that. It wasn't just a simple, she's got power, so she's awesome. She has a great connection she establishes with some other characters throughout the season, including with this kid. And the kid is always marveling at her powers, and she's constantly apprehended by it in some way or the other. It's like, it's not about that, it's not all about the powers. He also has a cool moment, though, which is, not connected to this, but I love how at one point he's like, do you know Captain America? And he goes to his room, and he pulls out a Captain America action figure, which I thought was so cool. And I was like, hey, great. We finally have Captain America in the Marvel Netflix universe in one way or another. I don't really have much problem with Season 2, but just the one. I think in the fact that it's dealing so much with these emotional beats, and the fact that it's going so much more into the characters, that there's a lot going on in this season. And there's a lot of subplots that are raised, and a lot of things which are suddenly put into focus regarding other characters as well. Sometimes they take away from the main point of the show, and it kind of becomes like a detour. It's like there's a straight through line, for season 1, but season 1 had other subplots as well, including that one neighbor who lost her brother, and Malcolm was doing everything that he could to make her feel comfortable during this terrible time she was having. With subplots like that, it was handled in a way that it was kind of cool. But with season 2, there's a couple of things raised, particularly with Jerry Hogarth, who's played by Carrie-Anne Moss. And there are certain things raised with her character as a subplot that kind of make that through line a little wavy. It feels like a detour at points, and it kind of loses focus of what the season is building towards, and it feels like a distraction at several points. Like, yes, I get this is going on, but then we're at this. And there's a couple of points like that. There's also this other PI who is trying to, get stuff done, who kind of makes things a little shaky as well. To the plot, he is relevant later on, but for the longest time, it felt like he was a drag on the entire season. And so that was also a little strange. Like, those are the couple of things where I feel like it was not as streamlined as season 1 was. Because season 1, like I said, had subplots. Handled them in a lot better way, though. Also, in doing this, because Jessica is establishing certain emotional connections and vice versa with other characters, sometimes in the process of doing that, because of all of this stuff going on, some of the emotional beats are kind of lost. I'm not saying that this is not a moving season or it's not an emotionally satisfying season. It is. And there are a lot of beats over here that will choke you up a little bit, and they were quite beautiful. But every once in a while, it was just like, I feel like there was an emotional moment they were heading towards here, but it didn't quite get me the way I thought it would. All that said, season 2 was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I think it's a hair below season 1, which I think is one of the best Marvel Netflix seasons of them all. I think it's a fantastic season 1. And I think it's like right below Daredevil season 1 for me. Or maybe above. It's kind of an on-off thing for me. That said, season 2 is a really, really strong season and one of my favorite Marvel Netflix seasons. And I'm going to give Jessica Jones season 2 an A. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. What did you guys think of season 2? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.